welcome to 310 The Left, a special edition of the podcast this week. Tom Karen from Nesson, along with Alex Spear of the Boston Globe. As always, Alex, how you doing?
I'm great, Tom. I'm really looking forward to this week's episode, I think.
Yeah, this is a big week for all of us at Nesson and all of us around the Red Sox. It's the annual Jimmy Fund Radio Telethon, which is really just a remarkable endeavor that Nesson has gotten behind. Sean, I wanted to look it up, but I didn't have time. I'm not sure how many years this is. 20, 21? I feel last year was the 20th. But year one was a WEEI radiothon. And then year two, Nesson got involved and never looked back. And it is remarkable. If you could sort of pull back the curtain and show you what's happening at Nesson right now with just so many producers and directors and photographers. Even as we were doing the post-game show on Sunday at the Wasabi studio, they were already setting up tables and chairs for the phone banks and moving things around because they've got basically 24 hours to get it ready. And then Tuesday, we hit the ground running. But it is an amazing, amazing couple of days. A lot of people get involved. A lot of people throw their money at it. And it is, and I'm told, Carolyn tells us, that it is the 22nd. So it was one off. So I've done 20. I guess I've done 20 of these. So last year was our 20th. It was the 21st. And this year will be our 21st on TV, 22nd overall. But Alex, you've been around longer than the telethon covering the Red Sox. You well know how much this means to a lot of people.
Yeah, it's an extraordinary event, both because of what it says about the way that to sit in the middle of the kind of this nexus where the community rallies behind a shared purpose is something that's so meaningful. It means a lot to be able to give every bit of support that we possibly can to kids and to families who are in, I don't want to say impossible to imagine circumstances, but nonetheless, it's for those of us who who have the good fortune to have health in our in our lives and our immediate families, to recognize our good fortune and to recognize the opportunity that's presented to us to be supportive of those who are not in as fortunate circumstances. It means the world. And I used to do I've been doing this. Before I was with the Boston Globe and before I was doing some Nesson appearances and taking part with the telethon that way, I worked for WEEI.com with the infamous Rob Bradford for a number of years. But I used to volunteer on the phone banks during that time because it meant a lot to me as a person in the community and as a dad to be able to support in any little way. And that's what these couple of days are about. They're an opportunity for us to, just try to make a positive contribution to the lives of others, into this remarkable history of progress that's been made in attacking this horrendous disease, and appreciating how the world has changed because of the efforts that have been behind that impetus.
One of the amazing things to me is, since I got involved in my first one 20 years ago, is how many of these cancers were once fatal that are now chronic, right? I mean, we haven't cured cancer, right? That's the simple goal for all of this. But they have found ways to treat many, many cancers that would have been, a death sentence when you got the diagnosis 20 years ago, and now with targeted therapies, with immunotherapy, with some of the trials that they roll out every year, the Genome Project, which has helped identify stuff at the molecular level, at the DNA level, and they could, and it is now people who would have been given 6 months to live get years and decades. People who were told they would not survive now survive, and it's treatable. So it's in real time over the decades. We have seen the progress, and the amazing thing about the Dana-Farber Cancer Institute and the Jimmy Fund Clinic is that it is 50% research, 50% care. Right. It is, and their ability to come up with a new concept in the lab walk it down the hall and try it on a patient and help that patient immediately get reaction to it is remarkable. There is not another place like it in the world. And if you've gone on a visit, you understand right away. I actually went through it as a patient at the Jimmy Fund in 2015 when I got a lymphoma diagnosis. And it is, amazing. I mean, it is an amazing place.
It's a place that offers hope, which is, I mean, that is such a precious that's such a precious phenomenon, and it offers hope and hopefulness, and just radiates positivity. The people who work there are motivated by love for other people. It's inspiring to see the way that they approach their days and that they approach other people, and the way in which they are approaching this massive problem-solving endeavor. Right, like, because it is a matter of the quest to cure cancer, while being motivated incredibly by the immense progress that has been steadily made over decades. The appreciable progress that's made, and Tom, the fact that you're in great health, and you are a beneficiary of the Jimmy Fund, and I'm very grateful for that. And it really reinforces what this is about. It's about the joy in life, and that's possible through this shared purpose that I think we all feel deeply in our hearts with the Jimmy Fund.
Yeah, and I always want to make it clear, I don't like talking about my thing a lot because I think it sort of dishonors the people who go through a fight. I was incredibly fortunate in that when they found my lymphoma, it was already removed. Like, it hadn't been diagnosed till the mass had been removed. There was no fault. I was so lucky that it hadn't spread. But you glimpse into that abyss, right? Like, you get a cancer diagnosis. You then go in. My wife Kelly still laughs that the first person I called was Lisa Sherber, not my wife. It was a Friday afternoon, and I wanted to make sure I got in there as soon as I could next week. So I called Lisa and said, "Get me an appointment," because as a doctor once told me, my local doctor had said, "There's a great place out here in Metro West," and as one of the Red Sox team doctors once said, you don't pick your healthcare based on how many parking spaces they have outside, right? Get into Boston and go see the best. So, but again, for that short period, right? Because you go through CAT scans, you go through full body scans, you come back 3 months and 6 months to see if it has spread. And so you get, and you walk in that place, and there's the famous quote, right? "You have cancer, cancer doesn't know you have us." And it's just such a great, you kind of chuckle. But I remember, because of everything we had done with the telethon, when I was told it was lymphoma, I didn't go into any panic because I've heard so many stories and I've seen the work being done and I know what the science is doing. That it was like, okay, so here we go. We're gonna have a fight here, but why not? I mean, so many people get it, right? It's no longer stunning to find out that you or a loved one has been diagnosed with cancer. And now I think most of us understand that, they're hopefully with early diagnosis, right? Early detection is everything. But can you get in and navigate the battle quickly? So I think all of that confidence, all of that better understanding comes from the Jimmy Fund, and some of that comes from this telethon because we spend 2 days amplifying the message, and that's powerful.
It is powerful, and it's stories, the ones that do not have the same happy endings, and to be motivated to try to help those people, and to try to help, to try to get to a point where those outcomes can be better, or can be eventually, at some point in the future, avoided entirely. And so, it is inspirational. It is motivational. There's a reason why this is the most rewarding. Like, we all talk about this as the most rewarding period of time in the calendar, in the work calendar, in many respects. But it is the most inspirational. It's also the most exhausting because this is an opportunity for us to kind of open our hearts and not be walled off from everything that we hear with the people and the families who are dealing with this disease.
No doubt. No doubt, and you and I could go on, but we won't because we actually will be over the next 2 days. So we'll save some of it for that. But it is never lost on any of us that all this is built on the platform that the Red Sox have built, right? And Ted Williams, getting involved with the Jimmy Fund is what began one of the great philanthropic partnerships in sports history. Many other teams have modeled their foundations and their philanthropy after what the Red Sox have done, now with the Red Sox Foundation, but originally with the Jimmy Fund. And every year, the team has a team captain for this effort, the team Jimmy Fund captain. And over the years, Tim Wakefield was probably the standard bearer for what it meant to be a team captain, and this year will be that much more difficult for a lot of us. Bittersweet, because a year ago we didn't even know Tim had a health issue, and now we've lost him and his wife Stacy to cancer, and so that will be weighing heavy on all of us over the next couple of days. But the legacy of those captains continues. Will Middlebrooks did it well, and Brock Holt took it to the next level. Nathan Eovaldi, and now Garrett Whitlock. And so we have a perfect opportunity to bring Garrett in, check in on his rehab, and talk about his role as a Jimmy Fund team captain, and remind you why the next 2 days are so important. So Garrett Whitlock here on the eve of the Jimmy Fund Radio Telethon. He's the guest on this edition of 310 to Left. Garrett Whitlock might not be able to impact the outcome of the games this week, but he's going to have a big impact on a lot of people. He joins us now as the Red Sox team captain of the Jimmy Fund this year. Garrett, how you doing?
Hey guys, thanks for having me. Enjoying every bit of it, and enjoy being here.
I said yesterday on the air, it's probably the two most important days of the Red Sox calendar. I mean, we could talk about wins and losses all we want, but the money raised over the years, the lives affected at the Jimmy Fund, speak for themselves. And we've gotten to know a lot of the players who've gotten really involved, and over the last couple of years, you've really gotten involved. It's one thing, to lend your name and to support and to go down and visit. But you have taken this on as an important part of your, role here in Boston. Talk a little about how that's developed, why it's become important to you, and why you wanted a bigger role than just saying, yeah, I'll go down and visit some kids once in a while. Why did this resonate with you?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, from the first day that I got up here in Boston, you can see the impact that the Jimmy Fund and the Red Sox have together, and it's pretty awesome. I mean, just walking around the stadium, you see the old like collection boxes and everything like that. So there's a ton of history with it. And I mean, from like I got to watch Nathan Eovaldi, like how he was the captain before me. He would always, just kind of bring me along with him to just be like, hey, like I know you have a heart for this, like come with me to see how it's done, try and be there as much as you can. And so when I got to do that and I wasn't the captain and I was just like there and everything like that, it was just really impactful on me. And so when Nate left, I was like, man, there's big shoes to fill, but I wanna step into that role so that I can try and be half the leader, half the captain that Nate was, that Brock has been, that the people before me will, and like all those guys have been before me, to try and step up and again just to try and impact these people's lives and try and help the community as much as we can.
Those visits are extraordinary, and they are as much as you are giving to the kids and to the families. What you get from spending time with them is you're getting it back tenfold. You are also a new parent. You and your wife welcomed Brooks into the world about a month ago, exactly a month ago today. How has being a parent really even amplified what the Jimmy Fund experience has been like for you, and what it's like to be to recognize the circumstance of those who are dealing with kind of terrifying health circumstances?
Absolutely. I was telling Miss Lisa, who's basically my liaison there at the Jimmy Fund. I was like, last year was impactful and had a certain amount of impact on me and everything, but this year has brought an entire new meaning for what we do with the Red Sox, with the Jimmy Fund, and everything that goes on being a parent. Because now when I interact with these patients and with these people and like the families, I almost kind of put myself in their shoes where it's like, man, like this could be my son, and so like just as like it could be my son, like these are their kids. This is someone's son, this is someone's daughter, this is someone's sister, this is someone's brother. And so when I see that, now that I've felt that impact of what it's like to be a father, like it's changed everything for me, and it's given me a bigger heart for everyone. And it's just one of those things that, like, I want to be able to, again, give as much of myself and give as much of the team as we can to the Jimmy Fund, just again to be whatever we can to do to help in any way we can.
But Garrett, I've been involved in this a long time, and you go down there and you visit, and right away you go and you play with the kids, and it's great because you put a smile on their faces, right? That's the amazing thing. But then, what always tugs on my heartstrings is when you're talking to the families, you're talking to the parents, right? Because I swear the kids, and there's been so many, some patients and kids that I've gotten to get to know and stay connected to over the years. You always hear the stories. The kids are actually upset when they're told they don't have to come back anymore, right? Because they want to go back. That's the play place, right? That's what they think of it is. But the parents, man, you said it. Like, now that you're a parent, I've got two sons. Alex, you have kids. It's you can't imagine what the families are going through. Talk a little about how they've affected you, how the families have touched you in your visits.
Absolutely. I mean, again, kind of like I said last year I was like, oh, like, loving on the kids, playing with the kids, everything like that, and that's all I thought about. But this year when I went, it was like, hey, yeah, I'm gonna play with the kids, hang out, and everything like that, and it was so much fun. But this year I made it a lot more of an intention to like talk to the parents and be like, hey, how are y'all doing? Like I understand like everything that's going on. Like, how are you guys doing? How can we help you guys? Because I mean, you can just see like on everybody's faces just the care and the love that all these parents have, and it's one of those things that you want to be like, hey, like, can I get you like a cup of coffee? Can I like do something to help you in this instance? And I tell you what, like the love that these kids have for their parents is amazing too, because you'll see just some of these kids, like if the parent walks out of the room or something, like it'll just like almost like really tug on your heart when the kid can go like, hey, can you go check on my dad? I want to make sure he's doing okay. And it's like, man, like you're battling through all this and you've got the strength to go through all this, and yet you have this selflessness to ask and think about your parents and how they're doing and all this. I mean, it just like it makes you just realize and look inward and say, man, like we could be doing so much more, and like we should be just looking outward a lot more than we really do. And it brings joy to your heart when you see these kids do that. And like again, you really want to be there for the families as well, because they're going through everything and they're battling just as much as the kids are.
You're 1,000,000% right. The kids, the families are absolutely amazing. We get to learn so much about both personal strength and interpersonal strength from getting to meet some of these kids, some of these families. But I want to know what you think, what you've learned about the Jimmy Fund itself. You mentioned Miss Lisa, which I imagine Lisa Sherber probably gets a great kick out of hearing herself referred to that way. How would you describe the environment that's created, that's nurtured inside the walls of the Jimmy Fund? What you've encountered about that very special venue?
Yeah, I tell you what, from the moment you walk in, I mean, just whether it be the nurses, the doctors, the receptionists, like anyone that is connected with the Jimmy Fund, I mean, I don't think you walk 5 feet without seeing smiles and without seeing joy in people's hearts. And it's so refreshing to see all of that when you walk into this clinic, and you see the joy, you see the passion that these nurses and doctors and receptionists have to be there. Like to them, it's not work. It's like a joy to come there and be around these kids, be around the patients and everything they do. And I mean, from the top down, every single person is just smiles and hugs and high fives and like, hey, how can we make today a great day? And it's just refreshing to see that kind of energy, that kind of life, that kind of just rejuvenation and joy in every single person you interact with. And you can't help but start smiling yourself. You'll walk out of there and be like, man, my cheeks and jaw are a little sore. Like, what the heck? And it's like, oh yeah, it's just nonstop smiling the whole time I was there because that's what everyone else is doing, and it's just an infectious like joy and an infectious happiness and just everything that you have the second you walk in there. It's amazing.
There's such a history of support from the Red Sox, right? And it's passed on from player to player, generation to generation. You mentioned Nathan Eovaldi. I talked to him last week when I was with the team down in Texas. We talked about the telethon and what it still means to him. That doesn't end, right? You get traded, you sign elsewhere. Your connection doesn't. Brock Holt will be a big part of this over the next couple of days. Will Middlebrook said he's going to obviously be a part of it. But can you remember sort of being a young player here and first sort of hearing about this and sort of learning about the platform and learn tell us your early sort of organic connection and how it grew?
Yeah, I mean, shoot, it started in spring training in 21, my very first days with the team. I mean, obviously that was when COVID was still lingering, and unfortunately, like none of the patients were able to come and everything like that. But like Nate was still telling me, like, hey, like I got these Zooms with, whether it be with schools that did a great job fundraising, or with companies, the same thing, or even with like just FaceTiming or Zooming with patients. And I was like, wow, like I've heard of philanthropical stuff that like teams do. I mean, we did little things here and there when I was in the minor leagues, but it was nothing to the extent of what the Jimmy Fund and the Red Sox do together. And I mean, as you said, it's evident with, I mean, every time I talk to Will or Brock or anyone else, like Nate, like it eventually comes up, like, hey man, like how's things going with the Jimmy Fund? Like they'll ask me, and then like I'll be like, hey, like what are some of your stories and everything like that you got to be involved with? And I mean, even this year, me and Will did something together in the like where y'all are at with Nesson. Like we did something up there. I mean, he still has such a heart for everything that's going on, and it's impossible not to, because you see everything that happens in the relationship between just like the players and the patients and the faculty and staff and everything. And it's one of those things where you just know that, like, man, something good and something right is happening here. And when you have that, it doesn't just leave when whether you change geographical locations or not. Like, a piece of your heart will always still be at the clinic with those patients, everywhere you go.
That's such a remarkable thing to think about, right? Like the idea that, obviously you are bonded with so many Red Sox players by virtue of the fact of the uniform that you've worn, but also to be able to do that as, as kind of committed members of the community, right? Like who, where that connection and attachment lasts beyond just the parameters of the baseball day. I do wonder, like, as obviously Tim Wakefield is near and dear to so many of our hearts. How much, as you got more deeply involved in the Jimmy Fund, how much that allowed you to kind of feel a connection, forge a connection with Tim Wakefield, and as we get ready for for another telethon for a cause that was near and dear to his heart, how much Tim Wakefield is kind of a presence for you when you're at the Jimmy Fund and involved in Jimmy Fund activities this year.
Yeah, I tell you what, I mean, I don't think you can find another person that has had a more lasting effect on a community or a place than Tim Wakefield has had in Boston, and with the Jimmy Fund in particular. I mean, I wasn't fortunate enough to be able to talk with him a lot and discuss everything, but I mean, you just feel everything that he's done talking to anyone. I mean, everything this year, like we've been wanting to do in the honor of Tim, and everything that he did, and you feel that lasting impact. Again, walking into the clinic, talking to the staff. I mean, again, like we keep bringing up Miss Lisa just because of the amazing hero that she is, and she just keeps being like, man, like this is great. This reminds me so much of what Tim used to do. Like Tim used to do X, Y, and Z, and like this is fantastic. And it's amazing to see, just again, like the infectious personality that he had, the joy that he brought, the love that again, like he really leaves his, like, a piece of his heart with this community, with the people, with the faculty, with the patients. And again, it's one of those things that you just want to honor, you want to remember. And again, it's one of those things where this whole year and for years down the road, it'll always be like he was the pioneer, almost like to in this modern era of saying like, hey, yes, there's always been a connection with the Red Sox and Jimmy Fund, but we're going to take it a step further and we're going to make this extremely personal. We're going to make this extremely just unique and forge that bond even stronger.
Yeah, on Wednesday, in fact, I know we're going to do an hour where Lisa Scherber, and I will be co-hosting, but Jason Veritek and Brianna Wakefield are going to be with us in that hour. And you see what Brianna's doing, and I know y'all got to see her on opening day. I got to see her at the Run to Home Base a couple weeks ago. We got the cross home plate together. I mean, she's going into her freshman year in college. She's such a young woman, and she's handling herself just so incredibly well. And you think about the legacy, right? That's all we want. We want to raise good kids and make the world a better place. And you think of how she is carrying on Tim and Stacy's legacy. And as you were talking there, I was kind of thinking, he's done a pretty good job setting a legacy for the team as well. You guys wear that on your sleeve this year. He always said that winning the Roberto Clemente Award was the biggest honor of his career. This guy who won 2 World Series. And he said that was the biggest thing I ever accomplished in baseball. And I know you're a guy, Garrett, who takes all that seriously, right? Takes that this is more than baseball. You're here because you can play baseball, you're a great pitcher, but you've built a platform and you take that seriously, don't you? What you can do for others with that.
Absolutely. I take it very seriously. It's the most important thing to me. I mean, there's a very, very old saying that it's not about what you take when you go, it's what you leave behind. And that couldn't be more of a factual statement with Tim. I mean, listen, like we all know what he did on the field. We see the numbers. We see like, I mean, Red Sox Hall of Famer, everything. Like he was a fantastic baseball player. But again, I would venture to say that if you ask 90% of the fans and the people in Boston what they remember most about Tim, it's what he did off the field. I mean, that's just the kind of person he was, and like you said, that's the legacy he leaves behind. That's what his family is now doing. That's what his daughter's doing. It's amazing to see, and again, it's just that because of the heart he had, and it's one of those things where I want to try and have that exact same heart. Like obviously, I would never compare myself with Tim just because he was that amazing, and it's like, but I want to be a fraction of what he was able to do just in the community and everything like that because like. I want to have that exact same heart. I want to be able to say, you know what, like when I lay my head down at night, what was there one person that I was able to impact in a positive way today? Because even though it might have just been a normal day to me, like maybe that one thing turned their day around. Maybe that made them smile. Maybe that made them think about something happy, about something good. And again, like if there is one person you can impact every single day, that turns into such a big snowball effect because then they'll start impacting other people and then those people impact other people. And again, it's just a snowball effect. And so when you have that one infectious personality like we had with Tim, you can't help but spread it as you go. And it's amazing to see. And it's just one of those things where I can only pray and hope to be a fraction of the person and the man that Tim Wakefield was.
That's such a striking way of thinking about what matters, and it takes me back in some ways to at the time of your injury this year, and as Tom mentioned at the beginning of this, right? Like you had to undergo surgery, you had to undergo season-ending surgery a few months ago, and the recovery process seems to be going well. But the thing that was truly that kind of was honestly mind-blowing to me was it's been frustrating. The injuries have been frustrating for you. You, in addition to being a person who cares very much about impacting the lives of others, you are also a competitor who takes seriously, who cares a lot about your craft as well. But your perspective in discussing this surgery and the fact that you would not be able to pitch this year, but maintaining such a positive outlook on on your hope, on your determination to be yourself on the mound, your determination to remain yourself off the mound, and to not let health, you let injury cloud who you are. It's been remarkable to see. And I do wonder, how much your work with the Jimmy Fund, and that determination to help others has been helpful to you in terms of mindset as you've approached this rehab process and this time when you aren't able to pitch.
Yeah, and again, I'm only human. There was definitely a period of time, like right after it happened, when I was feeling down in the dumps. I was really honestly depressed, and I went through that stage where I did feel bad for myself and everything like that. But at the end of the day, my pastor back home, he talks about have a personality like Tigger from Winnie the Pooh, where it's like, hey, whatever I'm gonna do, I'm gonna be happy and I'm gonna do it to my best. And you can't help but, again, like that's one of those things where when you have that personality, it can't help but uplift other people. And so it's one of those things like, yeah, it doesn't do me any good to feel down or anything like that. But if I can have that joy, that personality to where I can bring others up, then hopefully they lift others up around them, and then it just becomes a culture. Again, like that's what you see with the Jimmy Fund. Like I said, when you walk in there, you can't help but smile because everyone else is smiling. It's a culture of joy. It's a culture of happiness. It's a culture of uplifting other people. And so when you're around that, when you are, again, just around that every single day, you can't help but start to try and emulate that in other people and in yourself. And that's the kind of person that I want to be. I want to be that person that when, you ask other teammates, like, hey, like, what's Whitlock like? Or you ask fans, like, what's Whitlock like? Oh man, dude's always got a smile. He's always uplifting. He's always, trying to do something to uplift someone else. Because like, if you can do that, then that'll spread and just keep growing. And like I said, that'll create a culture of just joy and passion and happiness that, again, I think is amazing, that should be, again, spread. So that's just kind of the way. And again, like I said, like I'm human. I go through the ups and downs and everything like that. But if I can do my best to maintain that joy and that passion, then hopefully more times than not, then I can spread the joy and spread happiness and love and everything, and hopefully that again creates a culture of joy.
These are foundational things that are the most important parts of life, right? Like what you do, like how you affect other people. That's more important than anything else. You do have a job. How's work going? How goes the rehab process at this point, as you navigate kind of this, try to radiate positivity through it, but also it's a slow moving process. How would you describe what the recovery has been like from the surgery, and what your outlook is about where the rehab process is taking you?
Yeah. So far everything's been fantastic. I feel great. Again, like I would say, like mentally, I'm only human. I've had days where I've felt terrible and just felt down on myself and everything like that. But again, I try and make a choice every day, to show up to work and show up with joy and happiness to show other people. And it's funny when you make those decisions and those choices, like you end up having a better day, and it's like, wow, like my body actually feels better, kind of thing. But again, like I'm human. I've had the bad days and everything. But no, from the rehab standpoint, my body feels great. I'm actually going to be starting to throw plyo balls here this Thursday and everything. So it's another step in the right direction. We're on time with everything there, and so I'm really happy with that. And again, just looking forward to being back in 25. And again, I told AC and Bailey, I said, hey, like they saw me working out and they're like, dang, Whit, like you're getting after it. And I'm like, hey guys, y'all don't forget about me yet. Like y'all remember what happened last time I had TJ? Like y'all don't forget about me yet. I ain't rolling over. Like I'm still coming back. And like you said, like I take my work very, very seriously. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I've got an edge. When I'm out there on that mound, I've got an edge, and I've got like this. Listen, it's you or me, and I'm gonna do everything I can to beat you. Like, yeah, once I cross those lines, I'll be your best friend, and I'll do whatever I can to help you and love on you. But when I'm in between those white lines, yeah, I've got a little bit of an edge to me, and I'm a competitor. I'm at work when that happens.
No Trevor Story for us. You can't. No light at the end of the tunnel that maybe if they went deep into October, no chance, huh? I just can dream.
I have a hard time seeing that one. I'm 2 months behind Giolito, so if he's got a chance, then
Yeah,
maybe I've got a chance. But
yeah. I don't think
again, as
that's
of right
happening
now,
either.
yeah.
Garrett, I do have to ask, right? Because I mean, you had the success as a reliever, you were a starter, then everyone's okay. But in your mind, are you still a starter when you think about next year? Are you starting if you can?
Yeah, I mean, again, I would love to. Again, that's that kind of bulldog mentality that you hand me the ball whenever you hand me the ball, and I'm going to go out there and get outs until you come and take the ball away from me. And I think again that kind of mindset again, like I told AC and Brez, y'all don't forget about me. Y'all don't give up on me that quickly. Like, listen, like if there's one thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put my nose to the grindstone. I'm gonna work my tail off to get back and be better than I was before. That's the one thing that I was really happy with is like, hey, you know, when I was healthy this year, like daggum, I was pitching pretty dang good, and so I want to continue that and be better than that next year. And so, again, just pick up where I left off and get after it.
So respecting the fact that you've had, you are, as you said, you're human. You've had good days. You've had bad days. To me, as an outsider, like I'm not in the. I get my brief period of time in the clubhouse, but it's not. It's a limited window. Your ability to remain engaged and to look like you're able to. Injuries in the past have been really frustrating for you, right? Like there have been times when it's looked like you've really worn it and it's been hard for you to connect with the people beyond yourself. How much more connected have you been able to feel through this rehab process with the rest of the team? And what has this season been like for you? Looking at a team that we keep thinking, oh, that injury is gonna be the one that breaks the camel's back, and the camel keeps rolling.
Yeah, again, like I would said, I would be lying to y'all if I tell you it's all been roses and sunshine and everything like that. I've definitely, especially early on, had days where, I felt lonely, I felt isolated, I felt, like man, like, and my wife is the one that kind of caught me and checked me on it because I would start saying like, hey, the guys are doing great, they're doing good, like, hey, they won tonight and everything like that, and she's like, listen, like, you're still a part of this team. Like, yeah, you don't go out there and lace it up and everything like that, but you can still have an impact like in the clubhouse, like in the dugout and everything like that, just lifting people up. And I've had to check myself, being like, hey, when you show up to the field every single day, like your job is to do your best you can rehabbing and give everything you got to being back and being ready for the start of next year. But it's also to be a life to other people, to be that up to bring that culture of joy and happiness in that clubhouse. Because like when people get injured, I mean, shoot, I mean, you look at the injuries we've had, and it's just like, hey, how can I go to that person and be like, hey, man, I understand what you're going through. Like, how can I best be there for you? Like, obviously, I'm not going to be there to like stretch your arm or everything like that, but like, what can I do to best help you? And that's just the resilience that this team has. I mean, I kind of described it like with what I went through of like the resilience of the people of Boston and what they've gone through. And like, I would say that this team kind of shows that attitude. Like the Boston attitude is like, hey, like when we're down, when we get punched in the face, when we get that gut check, like how do we respond? We come out there, we show up to work the next day, we still go, we still push forward, we still like again show up every day. And again, that's the attitude that Boston as a city and as a culture and as a people, that's what they have. And so I feel like this team has started to create that identity of never giving up, always pushing forward, keep showing up. And again, when you get punched in the face, like stand back up and get ready to get after it the next day.
Now you reflected well, and well, the other part is it's such a young team. At the grizzled age of 28, you're actually one of the older guys in the clubhouse. So there's got to be a couple adults in the room helping out along the way. But Alex Torres talks so much about having presence like you guys around. It's meant a lot, and it means a lot to us that you're still doing so much for the telethon. You squeezed us in between some medical stuff, so we appreciate you getting in. We're going to let you go, so you're on time for the trainer. Garrett, it was a great time. We'll see you over the next couple of days. Thanks for joining us.
Absolutely. I'll see you all around. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for sharing all that, Garrett.
Garrett Whitlock, Red Sox pitcher, and more importantly, team captain of the Jimmy Fund this year's telethon coming up. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for listening to this edition of the 310 to Left podcast.